3, 2, 1. Hello, it's Luke Marshall here, and it's been quite a long time since I've done a video, especially on LinkedIn. I've been absent. A lot's happened since my last video, and I thought I'd bring them back again based on some feedback from a friend. And one thing that I've been doing since lockdown is sort of introducing a framework that helps you think about digital marketing in terms of any length. So you can apply this framework to a campaign, you can apply this framework to a year-long endeavor, and it sort of helps you zoom in and zoom out based on what it is you want to do. So I call this framework the DMM Framework, and it stands for Design, Message, and Measure. And I'm going to talk through what that means because you should be able to see a presentation on the screen. So let's click here and let's go. So what usually happens when you do a digital marketing campaign? Well, digital marketing can solve lots of things. And typically you might get a request. This was one that I got from a potential client the other day, which was, I need leads. And so in discovery, I sort of had a call with them and asked them a few questions about what they've done in the past to get leads. And one of the things they mentioned was they've done an outbound campaign and invested some time and money in sort of doing some outreach and getting leads in. And I'm like, cool, what else did you do? And they refreshed their website, had it redesigned, and wanted to get conversions and inquiries through the website. And then I'm like, what else did you do? And we're considering Google. We've tried some Google ads, they didn't really work. And we've got a LinkedIn, we've got that presence too. And then, we've made some videos, we uploaded them to YouTube, and we've got an email list and we're trying to hit them as well. Now, that's a lot. And this is something that I see a lot in terms of tactics. It's employing a lot of tactics to not much effect. And the reason why none of these are really working for them, the business has been around just a year or so, is they're all tactics without some holistic thinking around what does and doesn't work. We're just sort of trying things. And I see this in digital marketing a lot. You'll have a specialist, say they're an Instagram influencer, and they show you their proven system and method for getting results on Instagram. Or you might have an SEO specialist, and all of the time their solution for what they're going to deliver for you is more organic rankings and more results on Google. I worked at Facebook for 2 years, and it got frustrating talking to clients day in, day out. And they'd identify their problems, they'd trust you, they'd go into a lot of detail, and the solution to that problem was always Facebook. And I just want to stop. I don't think a one solution fits all approach, or even multiple solutions without any insight approach works as well. So what I did, I created some IP, it's called DMM, and I'm going to talk through how this framework sort of helps against that background. So let's apply some DMM. What does it mean? Well, the first step is to design. So, and by design, we mean, what does the journey look like and where do people want to go? You want to audit the journey, sort of spell it out, and really identify the steps that you want an audience or a prospect to take to get to where you want them to go. So a really simple example, you might be seeing this video on LinkedIn. A portion of you might be interested in what I have to say. The next step would perhaps be visiting my LinkedIn profile or visiting my website. And then a smaller percentage would then maybe make an inquiry. So we're just designing a simple journey there. We've got the video as an asset. We've got the next step, which would be, say, my LinkedIn profile. And then we've got the next step, which is contact. So I've got an awareness of that journey and how to, optimize for it in later steps. So let's look at the next one. So what would the message look like at each stage of this journey? So in this example, we've got sort of a video. So we know what this looks like. Hi, Hi mum, how are you? And then the next stage might be my LinkedIn profile, which is obviously written already, and then the next stage might be when you engage with me directly, and you'll have an experience there as well. So fairly straightforward, but people don't think about it in terms of the journey or how it looks like. Now, there's another element to this because otherwise you're just going to try things based on the journey and hope something works. I'm obsessed with measurement. And so if you were to measure each stage of that journey, what bits look important? So it might be views, it might be engagement from a video, it might be the number of visits to a profile or so on. And then really we want to zoom it in on the business objective when doing any digital marketing campaign. And in this instance, it would be measuring the amount of inquiries I get. And that becomes an iterative feedback loop that I can just keep tweaking and applying to different parts of the journey and optimizing for. So look, that's okay, Marshy. Yeah, that's all good in theory. And to that I say, but I actually want to give you some real world examples to sort of help illustrate the point. So let's apply this framework to something completely unrelated to anything else here, which is Nike sneakers. So Nike, obviously, extremely advanced marketing company, and it does an excellent job, but it helps sort of illustrate how the framework can work in sort of any instance. So Nike, people who buy Nike sneakers are customers or potential customers that also use Facebook. So this is one of the journeys that a Nike potential customer could be on. Now, if they're on Facebook, we sort of want to get them to the website. So that's the next stage of the journey, and probably on the sneakers page because we want them to buy, which would be the third and final step within this DMM framework. So, okay, we've got the journey down. Keep in mind there can be multiple journeys, or just plotting one, and building out a list of potential journeys is a very valid exercise here. Or if you've got journeys in place, it might be measuring how that journey is working currently. So yeah, something to keep in mind there. So with our Nike prospects on Facebook, we want them to see an ad. So what does that ad look like? How would it appeal to them? What sort of copy do we want to do? What's the image look like? Is it enticing? Can we test that message within that part of the journey? All valid questions to ask when considering things within this framework. Then they land on the sneaker page. Similar sort of criteria. Is the page good? Does it have good copy? Does it speak to the person on this journey? How does that work? And then finally, if they buy, they might see a confirmation email. How do we make them feel good about their purchase? How can we surprise and delight them? What does going over and above with that email look like? And can we automate that? So you can see how this framework prompts a lot of valid questions and considerations. And then we want to measure, which is the bit that determines success. So with this Facebook ad, we might want to see clicks from the ad to the site. We want people clicking buy, and then number of purchases. Pretty easy to track. So that would be how I'd apply the DMM framework to Nike sneakers. Let's relate it back to my friend earlier who has tried any number of tactics. So let's assume that they're a business that needs leads. So let's look at the design framework here. Recognize where customers are at each step and map ideal journeys. In general terms, that might mean they're on LinkedIn and you want to target them on LinkedIn, and you need to create something to say to get them from LinkedIn to engaging with you in some sort of asset, and then converting into a sales conversation and a sale. There might be other journeys like email based off a list, or there's a whole array of things that can be mapped and identified in terms of what journeys work best. And if you've already got some of these journeys in place already, you can look at the measurements too. So we just want to look at that journey, design it, audit it, recognize where the leverage is, and then move into the next step, which is message. So based on each step, we would go, how do we tailor that message to resonate with that person based on where they are. Now, that's really important because if someone's scrolling past you on LinkedIn, they don't know who you are. So don't talk about you too much. Make it about them and how you can help them. Maybe you want to be conversational. Maybe you just want to be helpful for them and with no sort of agenda. Like being helpful, especially in this climate, is actually a superpower. Hey, if you help enough people, people like you and want a small percentage might want to work with you. Fancy that. Moving it further down to other steps, like, say they engage with you. What does delighting them when you come back to them look like? Tip, it's not a calendar booking, it's something else. And then maybe you engage with them in the next step and it's a follow-up. So you want to blow them away with some sort of template or white pager or case study. And being aware of where they're at which stage in the journey is super powerful. Now, this becomes repetitious because of the iterative framework. So say you've mapped these journeys, you're executing your message against each step of the journey, you can actually measure what works. Digital makes it super, super easy to see these numbers. And so you might look at the numbers that are happening on LinkedIn or your website and then determine what is working, what works for your business, what works for you, and then repeat and get better at it. That's pretty much the DMM framework. It's a useful one. It works in in many scenarios. You can apply it for sort of stuff you're doing individually or stuff you're doing as a big company. I've taught this to students. I've taught this to businesses, and this framework works. It just helps guide the thinking and steer it in a direction that doesn't overcomplicate it, because as you can see on the screen, it's so easy to get overwhelmed by all the things that are out there instead of focusing it down and identifying what journeys work best and then mapping a strategy to execute against that. That's as simple as it gets. Most practitioners out there might specialize in one of these things you see on the screen. Generally, you want a marketer or someone a bit more senior with a bit more holistic experience to advise and map based on what you need. So that's what I had to share with you today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you can give me a follow on LinkedIn if you want to sort of stay cautious. If you want to see more of this content, you could also send me a personalized request on LinkedIn. Or look, if you think there's value here and want to have a conversation, there's some availability and you can just visit that website. Thank you for watching. I'll try and do more of these videos as things spring to mind. And look, have a great day.